and gentlemen, the 3 knockdown rule on Triller is in effect. I'm Steve Kim, joined by Mario Chilada Lopez.
Hey, more on that. Korean Kosal. Shout out to Smoking Tim Frazier, Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino
on the edits. Let's get started. So much to talk about. Mario, Saturday from Nottingham Arena in the UK on the DAZN. We may have had our fight of the year, knockout of the year, comeback of the year, and WBA regular featherweight title is on the line. It's retained by Leigh Wood with a thrilling 12th round knockout coming from behind against Irish Mick Conlan. Mario, what a battle.
You know what it deserves?
Slow 80s clap?
An 80 slow clap.
I agree.
Let me tell you something. I am so glad I was able to see the whole thing from start to finish. And first, let's talk about the atmosphere. I love me some Brits. Those guys love the fight game. They come to party. They're passionate about it, and that made what was an incredible fight even that much better. If you think about it, not to deviate too much, but Corrales Castillo, which was an incredible fight.
3,500 people. I was there.
Exactly. And it was a stale atmosphere.
It was.
There wasn't any energy. Can you imagine if it had half the energy like it did over? Honestly, it would be talked about as the best fight of all time if it had that. It makes that much of a difference. So God bless the Brits over there. And man, they really love the fight game over across the pond. Now, as far as the fight itself, it's fascinating, Kim, because Conlan looked so sharp and had such a great game plan and came in so well prepared. And I love his offensive approach and how defensive minded he was. He was finding a home for that overhand left from the get. The way he closed out that first round after the bell and boom, it was like he hit him with a bat. I thought, okay, it's just a matter of time. And then he continued to catch him with it and buzz him multiple times, almost dropping him a couple times. I was stunned at the resilience, the heart, and the grit of Wood. And Conlan, at the same time, was fighting home for that right overhand left, doing beautiful work when he went inside to the body. Defensively, he was looking slick. I thought he was boxing beautifully. But there's something about the grit and determination of Wood. He did not want to go gently into the night. Worked himself back into that fight, started going away to the body. But what I found fascinating, Kim, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't ever feel he had Conlan in any sort of trouble. He was sort of working his way back in, but I never felt that, even though he was able to get him to against the ropes, that he hurt him at any point or he was doing any sort of serious damage. He was a little busy, and I thought he might make some of the rounds close, but I still was giving Conlan the nod. That's why it was so shocking to me when in the 12th, and I don't know, was fatigue or what it was, or a suspect chin. I don't know if I've seen Conlan get nailed like that, but when he caught him with that beautiful right hand that sent him through the ropes in that devastating knockout, I was blown away. Because, like you said, it was the knockout of the year, the comeback of the year, and absolutely the fight of the year, and the atmosphere of the year. The way he was able to stay in the fight, not necessarily chipping away. I don't know if he was necessarily chipping away. I may be wrong, but he didn't look it at least, or his Conlan's body language didn't give away to that. But the way he was able to, that never say die attitude, fight till the end, and in the 12th round, take him out like that, wow, is all I have to say. And Conlan, I don't know what the scorecards were, but Conlan seemed to, had he survived that round, do enough to win the belt.
Well, let's get into that. The scorecards at the end of 11 were a little bit closer, in fact, a lot closer than the way I had it. I had it 8-3, and I want to get to the 11th round real fast. But the scores read 105-102 Conlan, and the other two cards had it a 1-point fight for Conlan. 104-103.
Oh, yeah, I don't agree with that at all. Another thing I didn't point out, when he was called for the knockdown in the 11th, I believe, yes, technically, he did get caught.
I thought it was a slip.
So you're exactly, hold on. He got caught with a punch. A punch did land, but I think he was slipping at the same time. So I don't have a problem giving him the knockdown, but the way he popped out, it wasn't like that first round knockdown. Do you understand what I'm saying? The punch
Mario,
did.
I believe it changed the tactical
approach of
Conlan. From Conlan, because he already
exactly
knows I'm the road fighter. This was a matchroom show, all right? in Nottingham.
Right.
He's the road fighter. He's the B-side, theoretically. And he said, this thing's getting close.
Yes.
Maybe instead of going into the four corners, I got to press a little bit. And he's stuck inside.
You're right. Had that knockdown / slip, I don't have a problem calling
And
it.
Conlan dominated 2 minutes and 50 seconds of the 11th. I'm not even so sure with the knockdown that it's 10-8.
Like I was about to say, I don't have a problem giving them the knockdown because a punch did land. However, I think he was on his way down regardless with the slip. So it gets tricky.
If I'm a judge, I call it 10-9 Wood. I don't think it was a 10-8. Not all knockdowns are 10-8 rounds, no matter what anyone says.
That's true. That's true. It's just people are used to giving it that. But you're right. I think it changed the mentality going into the 12th. But what are your thoughts on the punch? Do you feel he was chipping away? I didn't feel
there
like...
was a slow physical erosion.
Was there a physical erosion or fatigue because of the output?
That's both. That's both.
Well, I guess so, but it wasn't like it was getting beat. Yeah, the gas tank on Wood, and the recuperative abilities on Wood, outstanding.
You know, Wood after 8-9 rounds, it was dead Wood. I mean, I thought he was so far behind. I'm thinking he's going to need a miracle, which he eventually got. But Conlan did start to lay up on the ropes a little bit, and he did get chipped away at. Also, in the 11th round, when Conlan had Wood hurt again to the body, he went for the kill, for the lack of a better term, and it got him in trouble. I guarantee if he watches that fight, if they have a rematch, if he's in that situation again, next time he's going to say, you know what, bank this round. If I'm well ahead, then let's be very tactical. But again, it's easy for us to say we're not in the moment. We're not the man in the arena.
I agree with you, though, because Wood, again, surprisingly, was able to answer with a lot of sting on those punches.
Yeah.
He was getting rocked. There's no debate about that. And he was getting caught with a lot of shots, both upstairs, flush with that left hand, and downstairs. But it didn't seem to take away any sort of zap from those punches, because when he was throwing those combos, they were coming fast and hard.
You know, one thing about Wood that's very interesting is that he out-hustles Zhu Khan. And then he outgutted Michael Conlan. And I feel terrible for Conlan. I got to know that young man well as he started his career in Southern California under the direction of Manny Robles. He's a really good guy. For the first time, Michael Conlan, he looked like a seasoned pro. I was like, wow, he's putting it together.
Especially under those circumstances.
Yes, and then all of a sudden to see what happened so suddenly. And thankfully, he's okay. Keep this in mind. This was for the regular WBA title. The super champion is Leo Santa Cruz. I'd like to see that fight.
Ooh, that's a good fight at featherweight. Yes.
Yes.
Really good fight.
I think it's time for the WBA to call on that fight. So congratulations to Leigh Wood, who is right now, he is the man of the hour. And also to Michael Conlan. It does take two to tango.
No, absolutely. And I think it's just a matter of time before we see Conlan at that point again.
Saturday, fight on from the Galen Center of USC, the house of Harold Miner. Even though he never played there. On the zone,
Baby
Walter
Jordan.
Wade.
What do you mean he never played there? He went to USC, didn't he?
Yes, but he played at the sports arena.
Oh, that's right.
In front of a lot of curtains. A lot of people showed up.
Right,
also,
right.
Dwayne
Baby
Cooper,
Jordan.
shout out to Lorenzo Ward and George Ravely.
Last time we were at the Galen Center, Deontay Wilder was fighting Bermain Stavern, correct?
No, it was Chris Arreola.
Chris Arreola, I'm sorry. Chris Arreola was fighting Bermain Stavern.
And then it was Jermel Charlo fighting Julian Williams.
Correct. I wasn't at
back
that fight.
in
But
2016. But anyway, welterweight contender Vergil Ortiz Jr., rated #1 by the WBO, takes on Michael Mckinson. Mario, here's the good news about Mckinson, the Southpaw Brit, 27 years old. He's 21-0. The bad news? 2 knockouts. Uh-oh.
Hey,
Uh-oh.
Kid hasn't lost though, Kim.
Oh boy.
Kid hasn't
Here we
lost,
go.
so I'm not. I'm not mad at this though. I'm still not mad at it. Look, I think after this, Vergil Ortiz is ready, assuming he's victorious, to even step it up a notch. He's been bold enough to start calling out Errol Spence, Battle of Texas. So I would love to see that happen.
Keep this in mind. As the #1 contender in the WBO, that belt is held by Terrence Crawford. I wonder if he should blow through Mckinson as expected or come out victorious. Does Golden Boy say, okay, kid, we're taking off the shackles. Get him. Sometimes you have to win a fight. You're #1 for a reason. Okay, Vergil Ortiz, first fight under the direction of Manny Robles Jr. I like Vergil Ortiz. 18 up, 18 down. I think his power will simply be too much. When you look at Vergil Ortiz, though, I will say this. I don't think his physical upside is as great as Boots Ennis, but you know what? I look at the record.
Why do you say that?
My view, Boots is the better athlete. a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, and he's more versatile. He can go southpaw. I think Boots is special. I think Vergil Ortiz can be elite. But again, it's a small margin. But Boots, in my mind, if he gets the opportunity and if he can catch, that's the other thing. He runs into punches once in a while. Boots, to me, can be one of the iconic fighters of the next decade if given the opportunity. And he fights more often than twice a year. Now,
Boots and Virgil, I think, are the next blue chip sort of prospects that are ready to go to that level and can make a lot of noise.
Yeah, Virgil, but this is the point I want to make. If I look at the actual box rec, Virgil's faced much better competition. Bottom line. So there comes a point of, are you talking about what you think is something and what is something? Right now, Vergil Ortiz, in terms of the tangible, has actually shown me more.
Well, there you go.
So a lot of respect to Vergil
Huge
Ortiz.
variable.
Yes. Also on this Golden Boy card taking place on the campus of USC, Alexis Rocha takes on Blair the Flair Cobbs, and Crazy Azat Hovhanessian, one of my favorite bantamweights in the world, he gets going. Also, set your DVRs if you're in Southern California. Saturday on ESPN from the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, a night of young prospects. Super middleweights, Edgar Berlanga takes on Steve Rolls, and junior middleweight prospect Xander Zayas takes on Quincy Lavalier. One buzzkill, the bright, young, promising Keyshawn Davis. It was announced by Top Rank. He was pulled out of this card. He's going to be on the April 30th Valdez Stevenson card, what they're calling a non-COVID virus. Mario, you were there when Berlanga.
Non-COVID virus.
Yeah, it's called the cold.
So flu.
Okay. Anyway, Mario, for as it relates to Berlanga, you were there when he struggled down the stretch against Marcelos Coceres on the Fury Wilder undercard. Last two bouts against Damon Nicholson and then Coceres, he went the distance. I think got some rounds. He needed that. I'm not as high on Berlanga as I was a year and a half ago. And it's not even the fact he's knocking people out. His whole mentality about all this social media and hanging out with Fat Joe, and there's a part of me that wants to reach out to him and say, you want to focus in on boxing? And I know it's just social media posts, but there are other people in the sport of boxing that are insiders that say, yeah, we worry about it too. Are you concerned?
Well, look, this is the generation that we're dealing with now, and that's the world we live in. I don't have a problem with it if you're able to balance it and still be disciplined. No one put more on their plate than Manny Pacquiao. Now, granted, I know he's a special individual that was able to juggle a lot and incredibly gifted, but I don't think it's impossible. I think these kids, this is the world we live in. They embrace it. It consumes them. And I don't have a problem making it a part of your world if you still have the discipline to put boxing as your top priority. I think the last couple of times that Berlanga struggled and went the distance, it was the best thing that could have happened to him at this point in his career. So let's hope he's learned, he's grown from that, he's grown from that, and he continues to build.
Steve Rolls, 21-1, 12 knockouts. His one loss, he got stopped in 4 rounds by Gennady Golovkin at the Garden. But keep this in mind, Steve Rolls is really a middleweight. I think this was a specially designed fight. This was a Bruce Trampler, Brad Goodman special. Like, hey, kid struggle, let's get him a knockout on national TV. Xander Zayas. Well, if there's going to be another Puerto Rican, I know, I get it. I was on the Felix Verdejo bandwagon, but here's the difference. Zayas is at a real gym.
And the Juan Lopez bandwagon.
Not as much, but the discipline with Zayas and the commitment and the focus and the maturity to the sport. He's in Florida. He actually trains alongside a lot of pros. That's a real gym. And I actually think he really loves boxing. Part of this, I think you have to have a committed focus to the sport. You also have to love it a little bit. And now he's fighting Quincy Lavalier, pretty slick guy, very competent. Xander Zayas one day, as Top Rank starts to go back into New York, and they do those Puerto Rican Day weekend extravaganzas that were headlined by Miguel Cotto. This could be the kid.
Well, he's a young kid, too, so they got nothing but time.
Yeah, and by the way, folks, since this is an ESPN card, just make sure you eat dinner in between fights. You'll have plenty of time. Go to the bathroom, walk the dog.
Hopefully we won't have that.
And by the way, Mario, I think by the time we get back from Galen Center, the main event will probably be starting around, 10:30, 11 o'clock Pacific time on ESPN. But anyway, all right, moving along here. Mario, you see my shirt? This is in honor of a great man, probably my boyhood idol as it came to boxing in the 80s. This past Sunday, March 13th, was the 1-year anniversary of the passing of the great Marvelous Marvin Nathaniel Hagler.
That year flew by, huh?
Yes.
I feel like we were just talking about it. That's unbelievable.
Still remember that afternoon. We were all waiting for the Chocolatito Estrada rematch in Dallas.
Yeah.
And then right around 2:30, started getting texts and some messages saying, Steve, have you heard the rumor? And I go, no. People are saying on Facebook Hagler has passed away. I mean, I was stunned. I was stunned because I'm like, this guy was running 10Ks a year and a half ago. He kept himself in very good physical condition.
Yeah, he looked great.
You know, I was thinking about this. Some of my memories of Marvin Hagler that don't have to do with the Petronellis. We've told that story, his relationship with Aram. But it actually relates to my moving from Valencia, California to Montebello. And I remember now that I moved on March 7th, 1986 from Valencia, California to East LA because when I got to our house at Racken Mountain in Montebello, there was an LA Times. This is how big boxing was. That fight actually made the front page of the sports page with huge coverage. It was the story, and that was his fight against John Mugabe,
the Beast,
which was the 1986 fight of the year. Now, keep this in mind how much boxing has changed, Mario. John Mugabe was 25-0, 25 knockouts. He was number 1 in all 3 sanctioning bodies. Hagler had just come off the Hearns fight. Nowadays, guys would say, who's he? I don't need him. I'll do something else. Hagler, after he was coaxed back into fighting, said, all right, that's my duty. I'm going to fight him.
Wow.
And in that fight, you could see the age. And I've been told by people that were there in that training camp at Tacos.
Really? You think that was the one?
Yes. There was...
Because he was how many fights in at that point? Over
that
50?
was a 66th fight.
Oh, man.
And he was only 32. That was considered old back then.
Yeah, but that's a lot of miles in the odometer. That's when you fought that many times. It's different now.
I was told from people that he was getting pretty good shellackings during sparring for that camp. Like, there was some concern. Right around the 4th round, I know people that were there, and this has been written about. Ray Leonard was watching the Mugabe fight, and he said, I could beat that guy. That version, that's when he made up his mind. Funny story about that fight. It rained it was like a monsoon in Vegas, and so it was at the outdoor pavilion at Caesar's Palace. These kids happened to have trash bags.
Did they go rain or shine even at the outdoor?
Yes.
At Caesars?
Yes,
Wow.
they basically had to.
So, yeah, much like when we were at the Home Depot Center.
So what happened was Tommy Hearns fought James Blackgold Schuler. It was so wet, Hearns' handlers carried him into the ring.
Oh,
because your shoes can't get wet.
So
they're literally carrying his legs, and he's like on a recliner of guys. So interesting story. All these celebrities are there with their tuxedos and these nightgowns are worth thousands of dollars. These kids starts making hundreds of dollars for giving trash bags because that became the raincoat. That's the most memorable story Aram says I ever had of a ringside. These kids
hustler,
right? So they're each
capitalists,
right? So they're each getting $100 for trash bag.
Oh.
Another great story regarding Hagler. Jimmy Johnson, one of my personal favorites, is a big boxing fan. He used to go to a lot of fights, especially when he was coach of the Cowboys. He actually brought Hagler in when he was coaching at the University of Miami to speak to the team. So that was a big thing. So Alonzo Highsmith, who was a fullback, I asked him, do you remember when Hagler came on camp? He goes, oh, yeah, it was a big deal. In fact, that night that he fought Hagler, Jimmy Johnson said, okay, we're having a team event. Everyone get to the night complex. They're showing the fight. You're all going. So they all watched the fight on campus. That's how big of a deal Marvin Hagler was. He had a right guard commercial, Pizza Hut, visited the White House with Ronald Reagan. And I have a question. Do you
Which is incredible considering he was sort of not a villain, but looked at as kind of like the bad guy because you didn't see too many bald guys.
People thought he was unpromotable. Remember Joe Frazier's famous saying to Hagler?
Yeah.
Says, Marvin, you got 3 strikes against you. And he goes, what's that? You're black, you're southpaw, and you're too good. And I have a question. Do you think there's any fighter right now that any president, I mean, there's not a political statement. Do you think there's any fighter right now that has the profile that any president would invite him to the White House? Really?
I'm thinking, because you can't say Canelo is not American, right?
Right.
So they would, although I don't know why that would stop still the president if there was some sort of, I don't know, like if you would invite Canelo over for Cinco de Mayo or something, you know what I'm saying? Something like outside of that, you'd have to rack the brain. No, because there's really not.
Think about that era, the Kings, and we watched the Showtime card last year. Sugar Ray Leonard, when he had his operation on his eye, you know who called him to say, hey, how you doing? Reagan. Ray Leonard actually went to the White House. Tommy Hearns and Emmanuel Stewart went to the White House. Yeah. In fact, I know a very good close friend of Emmanuel Stewart, John Lepak, who's his personal assistant. He actually said one of Emmanuel Stewart's prized possession was him and Ronald Reagan shaking hands at the Oval Office. And obviously Marvin Hagler went there. I don't know of any fighter big enough right now that would have... Okay, how about this? What boxer right now do you think would be invited to this generation's version of whatever the Tonight Show is with Johnny Carson? I don't think there is any.
Well, You would think if he got on a bit of a winning streak, Ryan Garcia would probably be the closest
interesting.
one. Yeah, he's young, he's good looking, and he's marketable. Assuming he would getting on a winning streak or be a champion, right? And obviously, if we had an American heavyweight champion, I think the same thing could be said. Ironically, there's been a few UFC champions at the White House.
Interesting.
Because it crosses over.
That says something,
It
doesn't
does.
it?
Since you talk about the death of, not to keep it wah-wah, of Marvelous Marvin Hagler, got to give a quick shout out to the passing of Julio Cesar Chavez Lopez. Not the fighter, my dog. My dog, after 13 years, which is a hell of a run.
It's a good run.
French Bulldog. Yeah, he was working on overtime right there. I don't know why it made me really sad. Obviously, not just the passing of the dog, but it made me think about the fighter too. Because now I can't name another. You know what I mean? I love the name so much.
There could only be one.
There could only be one.
Just like there's only one line of Culiacan.
That's what I'm saying. You can't rename another dog the same name, right? So it's like that made me extra sad.
Although University of Georgia, UGA, all their mascots, a real bulldog,
same names,
are called UGA. So it's UGA 1, UGA 2.
Yeah.
I think they're up to UGA 17.
Yeah.
So you never know.
You
never know.
You never know. You could go junior, I get, but shout out to Julio.
Yeah, so rest in peace to a pair of boxing
You knew
idols.
Julio well.
Yes, he's a very good dog.
Exactly.
Anyway, we'll be back. We wrap it up with Ask Mario and Final Flurries. And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. Steve Kim, Mario Lopez, talking all things boxing. We go to the Ask Mario segment of this fine program. Here's one from Derek Batista. Hey, Mario, do you think this KO of Conlan was even more dramatic than Chavez Meldrick Taylor?
No, not more dramatic, because I think the stakes were higher. Number one,
Caliber of fighters.
The caliber of fighters, and there was literally 2 seconds left. So no, that'll be a hard one to top, considering the circumstances and the caliber of fighters that were involved.
Agreed. Here's a question from Easy Does It. Thoughts on Charlo Munguia? Okay, before we get into that, everyone thought this fight was basically a done deal. Turns out there was some network issue. Oscar De La Hoya, the head of Golden Boy Promotions, actually put out a Twitter message. Let's see what he had to say on Sunday night.
Sunday night, but work never stops. First of all, Vergil Ortiz versus McKinson, fight week. We can't wait at the Galen Center, live on DAZN. It's going to be a great fight. Ryan Garcia, April 9th, his big return. Tickets are almost sold out in San Antonio. It's going to be a great fight. And Jaime Munguia versus Charlo. Look, listen, we want the fight, obviously. And Charlo's the champion. He gets the bigger cut. We all know that. That's common sense. Showtime, yes, you have the fight on Showtime pay-per-view, but I need DAZN to participate. They built Jaime Munguia. That's only fair. It's business. More platforms, more pay-per-views, more money for the fighters. What's wrong with that?
Mario, this is a damn shame, and this is what I've been saying, that if I was the commissioner of boxing, one of the things I would do is I would not let promoters and networks have exclusive deals. I believe, going back to the days of HBO and Showtime, that these contracts where these fighters and promoters are bound to one network or different sides of the street, they've kept more fights from happening than sanctioning bodies. No one wants to say it. I'm the only one that gets it, but it's the truth. And again, I think, it may rear its ugly head. But I hope it gets done, though.
You're exactly right. And look, if you could go back and sort of change the infrastructure, yes, we would avoid a lot of these situations. Be that as it may, what Oscar said made a lot of sense. They're conceding a lot, but at the same time, DAZN just can't invest in this kid all this time and all of a sudden just surrender him for the biggest fight of the year for him and their network, to just let Showtime have all the spoils. It can't work that way, because what incentive do you have to invest in him?
Golden Boy is still negotiating a long-term deal with DAZN. They have March 19th coming up this Saturday, April 9th. If you're DAZN and Golden Boy pulls that, not a good look.
Well, it's not. Look, it's the politics involved. I'm not blaming the fighters or the promoters themselves. It's the politics, unfortunately. But I think the root of it is exactly what you said, and that's the only way it can actually be ever fixed.
It reminds me of a story, one of my favorite stories of the 90s. So Main Events is in bed with HBO. They had all the Shelley Finkel's guys from the Olympics, like Meldrick Taylor, I believe it was Pernell Whitaker. And so for a long time, they couldn't get the Chavez fight going. Main Events and Shelly Finkel promised HBO, we're not doing the Chavez fight without you. Well, one day, HBO executives read, big press conference. Showtime is distributing Chavez Whitaker. One of the HBO executives, I believe his name was Bob Greenway, was incensed. He actually went to the press conference to confront Shelly Finkel. It was a big scene, people that were there. This is a funny thing. So Bob Greenway starts yelling at Shelly, how could you do this? You blah, blah, blah. And Shelly goes, oh, not in front of the kids. Guy goes, F your kids. I swear to God, Shelly Finkel, from what I was told, gets into a karate. I know karate, Bob.
No, he did not.
And Bob Greenway goes, oh, God. And he just walked away. And Kathy Duba said,
awesome.
Steve, for a couple of years, Main Events, we were blackballed by HBO. There's a price to pay.
There is a price to pay. So you got to buy the fights, not the fighters.
God, I would have loved to have been at that press conference. Here's one from Abraham Gonzalez. With the jam-packed boxing schedule from now until June, which fights are you anticipating the most? Ask Mario also, have you watched The Mayor of Kingstown? I haven't. Have you?
I haven't, but Taylor Sheridan's incredible. He does Yellowstone. He did 1883, which was awesome. You got to watch. And he just signed this huge deal with Paramount Plus. He's doing a new show with Sylvester Stallone, and that's the one with Jeremy Renner. So I haven't seen it, but the guy's quality. So
the fights that I'm looking forward to, the rematch between Charlo and Castano. I hope that is put together.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Shakur Stevenson, Oscar Valdez.
Right. Also, you know what? I want to give a tip of the cap to the PBC and Showtime. That April 16th card from Ordenis Ugas, Errol Spence, Stanionis Batayev.
Yeah.
That's a good show.
That is a good show. And, of course, Canelo Bivol is going to be interesting.
Let's hope politics is not. I'm hearing people saying Bivol should not be able to fight because he's. I'm sorry. I am totally against individual fighters who have shown no political affiliation whatsoever be punished.
Exactly. Just like they used to in the Olympics. It's not fair.
Mr. Very Feel. Ask that Torta King, Mario Lopez, what is the definition of a slick fighter and who are his favorite slick Mexican fighters?
You know, I got to rack my brain. I would have considered...
Canelo slick.
Canelo's super slick. Yeah, I thought my mind went to the past, right?
Right.
Because you start thinking of the past. Canelo's very, very slick. Oscar was slick in there, too. One of my favorite Mexican, aside from Chavez, obviously, as I'm wearing a shirt, I love me some Eric Morales because...
Wow, I didn't slick. Him and slick. I never thought of that.
If you think about Eric Morales, he was incredibly fundamentally sound and technical, but man, he loved to mix it up, and he was a perfect blend of a boxer puncher to me with a lot of fire.
Brains and balls.
Brains and balls. So the consummate perfect fighter in my eyes, honestly. So he was slick when he wanted to be, but he loved to mix it up. At the same time, Ricardo Lopez, I think, was pretty slick, too.
Great technical fighter.
Yeah.
Salvador Sanchez, most relaxed fighter I've ever seen. I would say the definition of a slick fighter...
My other dog, Salvador Sanchez Lopez.
I would say the definition of slick is to be able to sit in front of somebody and, as the late, great Nazim Richardson would say, swim without getting wet. In other words, can you stand in front of somebody and disappear and also use their own movements against them? See, a lot of guys can run around the ring.
No.
That's just being elusive.
Well,
it's not
by
being
that
slick.
definition, the slickest, he's not Mexican, but he's Latino, is Chocolatito.
Yeah.
My guy, wow, what a performance about being slick in the last one.
Young Floyd Mayweather inside the pocket with that catch and shoot.
Of course.
Shoulder roll, Philly shove.
James
Toney
Yes.
was certainly slick. So, look, people mistake athleticism and quickness and speed and being able to move for slickness. No, that's being athletic. That's being a good tactical boxer. Doesn't mean you're slick. There is a difference. Here's one from Sash Shiesty. What a fight between Leigh Wood and Mick Conlan, and so refreshing to see the division get some shaking up. What are your current dream matchups for the 126-pound champs? Mario, I went through this a little bit. If you look at the landscape at 126, you have Mixayo, Emmanuel Navarrete, who shadowboxing is exciting. You have Brandon Figueroa, who's moved up. He's number 2 in the WBA. Joet Gonzalez always makes good television. And Mr. Violence, Mauricio Lara. I say you put him in a can, you shake it up, you let it all play out. Make fights.
All of them.
Leigh Wood, Michael Conlan, all of them.
Oh, that's a great weight. That's a great division right now.
But here's the problem. A lot of this is going to, which promoter has him? Which network is he on? But you have about 8 guys that you could literally pair together and make any tournament you want, single elimination. You could do it Super 6 style. It'd be great entertainment as not the late yet, But as the great Larry Merchant said, fight, make fights. Let's make fights. Moving on to the Ask Mario segment of the program. Mario, you are the Mexican Shack. You endorse a lot of products. What is Mario Chilada?
Hey, Mario
thirsty now.
Chilada. You like micheladas?
I love micheladas.
You
yes.
look like a guy that like
Órale.
micheladas, Steve Kim. So, yeah, I got into the michelada business with a dude that really knows the business and partnered up with him. And people who love them some micheladas rave about the product. And it's not just the michelada mix too. We've got the worms and the rings and all the sort of
Got the ensemble.
the ensemble and the goodies that come along with it, with the rim dip and everything. High quality. Go to mariochilada.com, CHELADA.com, for your order. But it's starting to be popping up all over.
By the way, it's funny because like when you talk to non-Mexicans about mixing beer and like a tomato juice, they're like, what? I'll never forget. We're at the bar. You were there. You had left. It was at one of the Pacquiao fights in Dallas. Miguel Cotto was there. And we're at the bar. And I had told him that the micheladas, I like them, is beer and tomato juice. And he goes, wait a minute. What is this? Miguel Cotto know nothing about this.
He didn't say third person.
Yeah,
he did not talk in third person.
I embellished that part.
You're so stupid.
But I thought it was a Latin. It's really a Mexican thing because we go, wait a minute.
Yeah, not so much, yeah.
You put tomato juice in beer.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, it's good.
I know a lot of white dudes that like me.
No.
Do you like micheladas, Frazier?
Yeah, they're all right. I don't drink them a lot, but they're all right.
Great summer drink.
But Nichols probably likes micheladas.
All right.
Oh, you're like, I'm shocked. I thought Nichols would like michelada because a beer guy.
Yeah, but Miguel Cotto's like kind of disgusted by the whole thought of tomato juice and
But
beer.
people that like them, like them.
I do. They're good
Yeah.
though.
So check them out. They're high quality.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get buzzed at your house next fight party on that. And Tom Brady, call it a comeback. Call it a comeback.
Yo, hung out with the fan for 2 months
And he
and
said,
said,
"I'm
I'm
good."
coming back.
I'm
You know what's
good.
funny about Tom Brady? It's like he called the retirement right and everybody celebrated him. It was kind of like you had your own funeral and you saw who was emotional and who
Like,
celebrated
yeah,
you.
I gotta come back
and
here.
then now he knows. And then he came back. Yeah, I'll be honest, I was a little shocked by that, to be honest with you. The crazy thing is, and we talked about this, all the quality, really elite quarterbacks on the AFC. It seems
No,
like
no,
outside.
Tampa Bay's NFC though.
That's what my point.
Right. So he's
That's what I'm saying. Outside of Aaron Rodgers, he's like, hey, I got a straight shot at least to get that,
Yeah.
right? Think about it.
Well,
We're all in the AFC.
him and Rodgers are now
That's it.
fully aligned, and I'm thinking,
That's
what,
it.
what's
That's all
another-
he's got to worry about. Whereas the AFC, you got a ton of guys right
Ooh,
there.
Yeah, out of the top 10 quarterbacks I saw a list, I think the 7 out of the 10 are in the AFC.
That's my point. So he probably, once he saw Russell Wilson go, he's probably like, you know what? I don't got to worry about Rodgers. And he usually struggles during playoff time anyways. I'm going to come back.
I just, once again, it's more evidence that when a guy says, I need to spend, and I want to spend more time with my friends, family,
Right.
and wife, I'm thinking, no, you don't.
It was either that. It was either that, or he was really moved by Kim Kardashian's words that you got to get off your ass and work. I think that might have done it too.
Retirement has killed more people
She might have motivated
than work.
him.
Bottom line, you got to have a purpose in life. You do. Retirement kills more people than work.
Yeah, look, listen, I don't think
Although
he
it's a little bit different at his age, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you got to have a
exactly.
purpose in life. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
There's no
and for some reason, Brady doesn't strike me as a guy, and I might be wrong, that would transition to the broadcast booth and be
No.
happy or even good at it, to be honest. Does that make sense?
No, he wants to play. He wants to be the man in the arena.
Sure.
That's his thing. Mario, I want to pay tribute to a guy that I've known a long time. He was a big boxing advocate. And I grew up watching him on ESPN for years on KCAL 9. Had been battling some health problems. And he passed away this weekend. Good friend of both of ours. Rest in peace to Alan Massengale.
I love me some Alan Massengale. What a great guy. I've had the pleasure of calling a few fights with him, as a matter of fact. So much fun, really cool, down to earth, love to hang out, funny, consummate professional. And yeah, I got sad when I heard about that news. Way too young.
Love boxing.
Yeah,
He really did. He was one of those major broadcasters who had been on national platforms that covered the Lakers. Boxing was always a love of his, though, and I certainly appreciate his personality. Also loved his University of Georgia Bulldogs. So, on a tip of the cap to a very good man.
God bless Massengale.
Good broadcaster, but even a better person. All right, well, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule on Triller. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Tim Frazier, Justin Buffalo Knuckles, and Tino on the edits, this is Steve Kim saying goodbye, everybody.